I remember being shown Yummy when I was younger. I believe my cousin was only a year older than me and just wanted to show me a song. It's called Yummy Tribute if you want to listen to it. That song creeped me out, especially the kid walking at the end when I was told how he died. Just thinking about someone my age at the time dying so young stuck with me. Seriously, it gave me nightmares. However, the story of Yummy left me fascinated. An 11-year-old boy who was arrested many times, killed someone, and was murdered himself. I watched many videos on the young man and decided to pick up a book. Surprisingly, it was a comic. Reality. The comic starts off with the narrator naming some of the most notable figures and accomplishments of Chicago. Recognizable figures like one of the most famous gangsters, Al Capone. But there were more positive things like Michael Jordan and the Bulls, Muddy Waters creating Chicago blues, Oprah becoming successful, and the colleges Chicago greats graduated from. This positivity quickly went away because this story does not have a good ending and is nothing short of a tragedy. In reality, he doesn't live in a good area and knows not to go outside in fear of being killed. The narrator knew Yummy, or Robert Sandifer, the boy named after his love for sweets. He was part of the Black Disciples, a gang that ran his neighborhood. Yummy was willing to prove himself no matter what he had to do or the cost. A young kid wanting to impress can be a scary thing depending on the situation. Nothing good comes from him joining that gang. He ends up killing a 14-year-old girl by accident. The girl had dreams of becoming a hairdresser and was apparently good at it too. However, those dreams were cut short. The narrator thinks about how nice her hair was when thinking about her. It saddens him more to think that she lived in the next block next to Yummy, so there was a chance that they may have known each other. With the life he was groomed into, the possibility that they knew each other mattered very little. Tensions are high in the narrator's home. His brother is part of the same gang as Yummy. The father blames the gang for putting Yummy in a situation like that. His brother, Gary, wanting to find out more about what went wrong with Yummy, leaves the house, telling his brother they'll clean up Yummy's mess. The narrator's father tells him not to end up like his brother. This angers him, and he runs to his room outside his window, and Gary is there. The boy offers to help his brother, but he snaps, saying he's in the gang to keep everyone safe, and asked him did he want to end up like Yummy. All the kid could think about was Yummy, how alone he felt while on the run. He couldn't avoid Yummy no matter where he went. The manhunt for the 11-year-old was talked about on the radio, through newspapers, even at his school. The backstory. Some say Yummy never had a chance because his father was in prison for drugs and his mother was in and out of jail for prostitution and drugs. His mother abused her kids so much they were taken away. At the age of 3, Yummy had scars and burns on him. He was left in the care of his granny. Like many grannies, she had too many kids to keep track of, sometimes up to 20 grandkids at a time, and would get the cops called on her for it. His granny stood strong to keep her grandkid with her. There were so many kids around, it allowed Yummy to disappear for days while looking for trouble. He would rob people, steal from stores, rob houses, and steal cars even with his small stature. Yummy was arrested up to 30 times at the age of 11. Special homes couldn't keep the kid out of trouble either. He would get into fights and eventually escape to come back to Granny's house. The kid eventually started hanging out with the BDs and was allowed to join after doing the pledge to the gang. Yummy was given presents, a hat and a gun. It was promised a spot in the gang leader's council if he played his cards right. Yummy stated he was never given anything before. He was hooked. During the time Yummy was alive, the laws were set up so that kids could not be convicted of a felony no matter the crime. Gangs knew this and took advantage of young boys. Wanting to impress their peers, they were down to do pretty much anything. He saw 2 rival gang members playing football near his territory and took his shot, killing the wrong person. The girl may have died right outside her parents' home. The mother of the daughter who was killed claimed she used to carry Yummy to church and he sang in the choir with her daughter, so Yummy did know the girl. The BDs moved Yummy from abandoned house to house. Yummy continued to get more attention. They did not like that one bit. The why. The narrator's teacher asked how they felt about the Yummy situation. He had a question he wanted answered. It was why Yummy was the way he was. First, he went to his brother Gary for answers. In Gary's words, he was a good little shorty who did what he was told. Yummy wanted to impress and would take on missions for the gang. No matter what was asked, he would do. You compare Yummy to a puppy pit bull. that people would have to watch out for when they become an adult. His granny said when he was away from the gang, Yummy was a sweet kid who would carry around his teddy bear at times. The narrator thought about the times Yummy acted like a kid instead of the thug people knew him as, the kid he shared candy and a laugh with. His parents tried to answer the question. Why did this happen? The father blamed the parents. He believed his parents were the reason for what happened. In his words, they made Yummy into a monster. He was beaten since he was a baby, and like dynamite, if hit too many times, it will blow. The mom believed the system failed him. He was on a waiting list to be taken out the state. There was nowhere else for him to go, so he was out back on the street. Yummy was basically given a get out of jail free card and was given no therapy or direction to go in. The neighborhood had many different opinions. Two old men had two opposing opinions of Yummy. Yummy was a kid who just wanted love, one who had good manners and was just a lost boy who loves animals, basketball, and likes bikes. Yummy was a crook who would strong-arm kids, a kid who was mentally a 30-year-old gangster. He was nothing but a thug that no one will be sad to see gone. The mechanic believed Yummy liked big cars, like caddies. He came around to watch him and asked plenty of questions. He thought it would eventually become a mechanic and straighten himself out. He was wrong. The barber said the disciples are not dumb. They use young children with no father figures looking for attention, so they use these kids while reaping the benefits. If one kid goes down, there's another to take their place. Making it past 19 is like being a senior citizen in his area. Even lawyers, cops, and professors chimed in about Yummy. He was worldwide. The narrator couldn't find out who the real Yummy was. Was he the bad guy or a victim? And would have the narrator ended up like him if he had the same childhood? Would you end up like Yummy if you had the same childhood? The sad end. The black disciples were tired of the attention and started having second thoughts about Yummy. So Yummy set out on his own. After 4 days, he called his granny for help and was willing to turn himself in. A friend invited him to his house to wait for his granny. This caused a commotion, but the elder of the house calmed things down and prayed with the boy. He asked if God could take him home. The narrator said, "I don't think God ever heard Yummy's prayer." Instead of his grandmother pulling up in a car, it was Derek and his brother Craig. They got him in the car saying they would take him out of town. Instead, he was taken under a viaduct, under the railroad tracks. He was told Monster, the gang leader, was going to make him a deputy. There he was shot twice and killed. He became too much of a risk and a problem. Derek and Craig were only 16 and 14. The story ends with the family leaving the funeral and Gary possibly leaving the gang after he was confronted by Yummy's grandma. What I liked seeing the story from the narrator's point of view. It was nice to see. I also like that the book tries to understand how a kid can end up like this. It allows people to feel sorry for him and hold him accountable. But can you hold a kid accountable like this with this type of upbringing? So many questions that make you think, man. I like the art as well. It took a bit to get used to, but it kind of grew on me. What I disliked, honestly, I would prefer the story, even though I did like seeing it from someone else's point of view. I'd rather the story follow Yummy's life than the narrator's. Also, I don't like that the book doesn't stick to the facts or the book being in comic form. For fiction, comics are great, but to cover something which happens in real life does not sit well with me. Maybe I'm in the minority on this. I don't think this should have been a comic, and if it is a comic, it should just be more factual. Anyway, I gave it a 5-star when I finished. After a few days, I was thinking of maybe a 4, but maybe I'll keep it a 5. I like what it's trying to teach. It's a great comic to get kids to stay away from the streets. You're gonna need to do way more than that, of course. It's kind of a reminder that you're not invincible. Anyway, thank you for watching. I don't know what book I'm gonna read next. This is kind of a weird one to start with because, it's kind of true crime. I don't know.